One of the main things that I run into, every single day training people, for the most part, is the issue of time. So generally speaking, I'm working with moms and dads, 30 to 45, 50 years old, and time is at such a premium for all these people. So one of the things that I've had to do over the last 10, 12 years of in-person training is to actually design realistic programs to actually fit these time constraints. If I've got 2 hours a week to train, and that's literally all I have. I'm a busy mom, I'm a busy dad. I just started a new job. I just started a graduate program. These are all really common things that I work with every week and every year. I only have 2 hours a week. Yes, it's not as ideal maybe as having 4, 5, 6 hours a week to train. But if you're in that season of your life where, hey, I have a newborn, yeah, I did just start this new job. And the best thing that I can do is get into the gym for 2 hours a week. Just know that you can, at the very least, kind of hold the line with your training at the very best. And ideally, we can actually make some slow progress over time. All right. So, how are we going to actually put together the nuts and the bolts of this training program with 2 hours in the entire week? For me, and again, a million ways to skin this cat, but this is just one really good way I've seen work out over the years. Day one, generally speaking, I'm going to have an upper push, an upper pull, a lower push, and a lower pull. On this day, my upper push and my upper pull are going to be a little bit of my bigger exercises. Think more of your bench presses, your barbell rows, your dumbbell rows, things like that. My lower push and my lower pull exercises are going to be a little bit more of what you might consider to be assistance exercises. So maybe a single leg exercise, like a step up, maybe a hamstring curl, like movements like that. So we've got 4 exercises on that day one: big upper push, big upper pull. We're going to look to do around 3 to 4 sets, somewhere between 6 and 12 reps for each one of those sets. Each one of these sets should probably be about an 8 or a 9 RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. If you're one of the cool kids these days using reps in reserve, is all we're looking for is like a 1 to 2 reps in reserve at the end of each one of these sets. So if you've just done a set of 8, maybe you could do 9 or 10 reps at the end of that set. That's kind of one way that you could look at how intense should I be taking each one of these sets. Now, obviously, this is all a range. There's going to be days whenever, at 1 or 2 reps in reserve is going to feel like a million pounds. Other days, it's going to feel great. So a lot of this is going to be dependent upon, kind of adjusting with a little bit of that. But for these general ranges, that's kind of some of the numbers that I would look to stick with for your upper pushes, pulls, and your lower pushes and pulls in this first day. On day two, this is actually a little bit more for me where I would work in more of the assistance work, a little bit more of the circuit work. So, having 2 hours a week, we don't exactly have a ton of time to be working in cardiovascular work. We've got a lot of goals that are important: strength improvement, muscle maintenance, and ideally improvement. So that doesn't leave a ton of room for cardiovascular improvement. So on the second day, we're going to do a little bit of combination of some of that assistance work and some of our cardiovascular work. Now, is that the most ideal way to set it up? No, it's not. But we only have 2 hours, so it's not ideal either. So this is I think, the best case scenario. So what that might look like for some people, and the way that I really like to set this up, is to have an upper body weight push motion. So that might be like a dip or a push up. An upper body weight pulling motion. So that could be like a TRX body weight row. It could be a chin up for some people. I think the TRX option for body weight rows is a great one there. We're going to be doing a lower body weight push. So think dumbbell goblet squat. It could just even be a body weight squat there. It doesn't have to be weighted. And then some sort of lower pulling movement. I think back extensions, GHD back extensions, 45-degree back extensions, things like that. We're going to rotate through those 4 movements, somewhere between 10 and 20 reps per movement. You're just going to do as many of those rounds as you can fit into 30 minutes. And that's your workout. So you've got a 30-minute cap. Get, maybe warmed up on an assault bike or a step mill prior to for 5 minutes. And then for 25 or 30 minutes, you're going to just do as many of those rounds as you can with those body weight motions. So obviously your heart rate's going to be up. So we're attacking a little bit of that cardiovascular component that is tough to do in a 2-hour time allotment for the week. You're also hitting some of the assistance work that maybe you don't have time to hit on that day one or on the next day of our training after this day. So we're hitting a lot of big things here, a lot of get a lot of bang for your buck with a day like this. All right, so that brings us to day 3. So day 3 is going to look very, very similar to day 1. We're just going to kind of reverse the priorities a little bit. So on day 3, we're going to be doing a lower push and a lower pull first. Now these are going to be our bigger compound exercises. Think about your barbell back squats and front squats. That could even be a leg press or a hack squat. If it's a day where maybe you're not feeling quite up to back squats or front squats and you need a different option. And then we're pairing that up with a big heavy compound lower pull. So of course, you've got your classic deadlifts, RDLs, but you could think of other things too, like dumbbell RDLs is another great option for a lower pull. We're pairing these two up where we're thinking about those big compound lower body movements. We're going to do 3 or 4 sets, somewhere between 6 and 12 reps for each one of those sets, somewhere in between an 8 to 9 RPE or a 1 to 2 reps in reserve for each one of those sets for the most part. We're still going to pick an upper push and an upper pull, but this might be where we incorporate a little bit more machine work. So maybe a chest press machine and maybe like a lat pull down, for instance, would be a really good option here. So same thing in there. We're going to go 3 or 4 sets, 6 to 12 reps, somewhere in that range.